I would see myself when I would get upset about something that already felt really bad. But then I would judge the upset of, well, that just comes from your thinking. And if you had different thinking, you wouldn't feel that way. And it's like this secondary level of suffering that adds to the original feeling of suffering. Um, and I was seeing that I was suffering my reaction to my reactions. Whereas if I just let myself have the reaction, like it passes.
And so you were using the inside out understanding to judge yourself, basically.
Yeah, I think there was this belief that, this illusion where, oh, once I've progressed to a certain point and I really see it, then I'll no longer get caught up anymore. And it's not evidence that we're not getting this understanding or that we lost this understanding in any way. It's just evidence that we're human.
A relaxed mind creates inspiration, connection, fresh ideas, and solutions to intractable problems. We're going to explore how you can relax into presence. This is the Releasing Mental Tension podcast with Rich Life.
I know that we're all enlightened, and so we have all gone great lengths in our spiritual journeys. So I'm sure that this hasn't happened to you, but it's happened to me and my guest, where you've had a spiritual setback, where it seems like things just don't add up anymore. The things that you were seeing so clearly are vanished. They go poof, and you feel like you've lost it all. If you've ever felt that way, we're going to be having a discussion about that and how maybe it's not the worst thing in the world. Maybe it's the next step in your progression, but it certainly doesn't feel like that at the time. So this is the Releasing Mental Tension podcast. And today I have a guest, Jean Young. I met her on a webinar, and she is very well versed in the three principles understanding. I also saw that she was doing a training on deep listening, which is very close to my heart. So I said, I want to connect with you. We connected in the past too, and it was really cool to kind of like see where you've gone and where you've developed. She shared some really cool things about how she kind of manifested these speaking gigs in our conversation before. So welcome, Jean. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Rich, for having me.
So you have never had setbacks in your spiritual journey at all?
No, I just live in this like permanent state of peace all the time.
No, I asked Jean to come to this session with what's really alive for her. And she shared that she feels like she kind of has had a lot of judgments around her feelings lately. So she feels like she's kind of had a setback. Do you want to tell us a little bit more?
Yeah. So lately I've been noticing that I have certain feelings and I'll be like, ooh, I don't like feeling that. And then my reaction to the feeling is, oh, see, you don't understand the three principles and the inside out understanding that much. Because if you really did, then you wouldn't have that feeling. And I found it really interesting that I was so resistant to certain feelings, knowing that there's nothing wrong with a feeling and we can't control how we feel. And yet I had a lot of judgment around it. And I think when I started to learn about the three principles, I almost like developed this layer of judgment around, well, now that I understand where experience comes from, then I can manage and control my experience and have less of the bad experiences that I don't want. And so, I would see myself when I would get upset about something that already felt really bad, but then I would judge the upset of, well, that just comes from your thinking. And if you had different thinking, you wouldn't feel that way. And it's like this secondary level of suffering that adds to the original feeling of suffering. Um, and I was seeing that I was suffering my reaction to my reactions. Whereas if I just let myself have the reaction, like it passes, but that feeling lingers when I'm judging it. And I've just noticed that that's come up a lot more lately.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like that's one of the ways that we can start to judge ourselves even more
Yeah.
is when we have a greater awareness. We open up to a new awareness of an experience of life. And now we're like, well, I should know better.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it becomes this new tool of self-flagellation where we beat
Yes.
ourselves up with it. And by the way, she's mentioned the three principles understanding. If you don't know what that is, it's a understanding that was spread through Sydney Banks, enlightened Scottish welder. And it's one of the ones that we both use in our coaching practices. Very powerful understanding that helps you realize that your experience is coming from your thoughts in the moment rather than external circumstances. So it's also known as the inside out understanding. And so you are using the inside out understanding to judge yourself, basically.
Yeah, I think there was this belief that, this illusion where, oh, once I've progressed to a certain point and I really see it, then I'll no longer get caught up anymore. And I think that's wishful thinking. Like, I wish life worked that way because, oh, as long as I understand it, I'll never get caught up in it. But really seeing now, like, oh, life doesn't work that way. And really, the way life works is we see it, we see our thought as thought sometimes, and then we forget. And then we remember again, and then we forget. And it's not evidence that we're not getting this understanding or that we lost this understanding in any way. It's just evidence that we're human.
I've had a couple of conversations about this before with some really dear friends, and we came to this really cool understanding of how a lot of people want to just be only spiritual.
Yeah.
If only I can elevate my consciousness to the right plane of existence, then I can escape this mortal suffering and the coil and torments that drag me down. And that is that would be its own kind of punishment, I feel like, actually. If we
Mm.
never experienced this being human thing, the moments of challenge,
Yeah.
that would be a shame in a lot of ways. And yes, it does suck. One of my coaches calls it the suck when you enter into this phase. And I've been doing that a little bit. I've been entering into the suck recently too. I had my dog almost die recently. He had a stick get lodged into his side, and thankfully they were able to remove it. And I've been feeling a lot of emotions, a lot of sadness and grief and relief and joy and then recently, just this morning even, I was feeling discouraged
Mm.
and unsure and doubting myself. And I'm like, this isn't me. Like, I felt so solid just even 2, 3 weeks ago. I was solid. I
Mm.
was there. And now it's like I've taken 2 steps back.
Mm.
But it seems like what you're trying to share is that that's kind of part of this being human thing.
Yeah. And like you, there's sometimes is this like, oh, I wish it could just all be this spiritual, this high. Like, you know, um, I don't want that, the human part of it, the suffering, the not feeling good. And, I was thinking about this lately to myself of like, Jean, what would it be like to just say yes to all of life? Because I notice in me, like, I like to compartmentalize my life. Like, oh, here are the good bits and here are the bad bits. And I only want the good and I don't want the bad. And I just only want to feel good feelings and only have good circumstances. And I was watching the musical, The Notebook. It came to town a few months ago. And there was a scene where Allie is doubting whether the relationship is going to work out. And Noah says to Allie, like, I want all of it. Like, I want the good and I want the bad, right? Like, bring it on. I want all of it in life. And to my surprise, I started crying. And I didn't know that that would get to me that much. But what really hit me about that line is I saw in myself all the ways in where I was saying no to my life, right? Like, life, just give me the good. And I saw that my life is all of it. So why would I say no to any part of it? Like, it doesn't make sense to say no to any part of my life. And even just like the whole good and bad, it's just our mind labeling it as good and bad, right? Really, it's just I'm feeling a feeling, or this happened in my life. It's what is. And then the brain goes, nope, that's good, that's bad. Don't want this, want more of that. Yeah, and so I've been like wondering a lot of what would it be like to just saying yes to it all.
I think you'd probably feel more free.
Yeah.
I think you'd probably have less resistance and pressure. One of the things that just really hit me recently, I was listening to this webinar with Trevor Timbeck, and he was talking about how we need to have both the awareness and acceptance. And when we have high levels of awareness, which often happens when we start to explore ourselves, our inner worlds, explore ourselves spiritually, we deepen our levels of awareness. And one of the things that can happen from that is that now we have this huge gap between awareness and acceptance, because our mind makes it bad if we ever go back into those old habitual thoughts or those old patterns. And what he was talking about is like, if you bring them both together, that you're okay. It doesn't matter if there is a lot of challenge and deep levels of feeling that maybe are slightly uncomfortable. I'm not going to say that they're not uncomfortable. We might not have to call them bad, but especially if we have the acceptance for them, they take on that texture. And then we can allow a lot more. He described it like they're two wings of a dove. And if you have both, you can fly through any storm. But if you only have the awareness, you can beat yourself up with it. It becomes a cudgel.
Yeah. Yeah. The acceptance piece. And it's not a resignation of, oh, I accept it, but it really is a seeing life for what it is, of, oh, life is just this, and not creating meaning from it. I think that's an area where I get caught sometimes too, is making meaning out of it, making it mean something about me or something about my life. Yeah. And I think what's really beautiful about the acceptance for me is just when there's no judgment. Recently I heard Dickens say, love is the absence of judgment. And I thought, wow, like when I'm not judging, then I'm in a feeling of love. And when I'm in a feeling of love, then any feeling I have or any circumstance I'm in is okay. Because love embraces all of it.
Yeah, that is really powerful. It reminds me of the dichotomy between love and fear, and that there's only ever those two emotions. I am either coming from love or I'm coming from fear. And all fear is a contraction, a protection, a defensiveness. And if I relax that, which is possible, you can do that in the moment. You open yourself to it. There's a way that you can kind of turn love in on the fear and love the fear.
Yeah.
And that seems to have a relaxing effect. At least for me, it does. Sometimes. And sometimes I'm just in the suck and I'm just gonna struggle. And that's okay too. That's a part of it.
Yeah, the being okay with the struggle. Yeah. We went on vacation a few weeks ago, and my little one just started throwing a tantrum in the morning. And it was just, for me, it was just, I could see myself getting pulled into it, feeling really unsettled. And it was just like, oh, what a way to start the day. And just feeling really upset about it. And the tantrum lasted for like 2 hours. We were supposed to go to the beach. We were late to that. And then finally, when we got to the beach, it was like this gorgeous beach. And I could still, in my mind, I was still feeling upset about it. Right. That was my experience of it. And then I was judging my upset. Like, we're at the beach. The tantrum's over. Why are you still mad? And just not allowing myself just to be mad. And I went home that evening, and it was more of the thinking of like, how did you let that get to you all day? You should have let it go. And then and there was a part of me that was still mad. Like I still felt very justified in the anger. And then about a week later, I looked back on that incident, and it was funny to me because I thought, oh my gosh, I was mad for like 8 hours over like a 2-hour tantrum, right? Like that felt really comical to me. And Michael Neill recently has like a Michael AI version of him out. And so I was chatting with him about it because I was like really disappointed in myself for, allowing that to get to me so much. And so I was chatting with Digital Michael, and then, he responds with like, you don't need to be disappointed in yourself. You don't need to have handled it differently. And that line, like really, I was like, wait, what? Like, I thought I needed to handle it differently. I couldn't, it was like, no, I'm not allowed to be upset. And especially for that long. Like that didn't make sense. And to just hear like, okay, you're upset for 8 hours. It doesn't need to be any different. And it was just like, it like set me free in a way of, oh, I don't need to keep going back and reliving that experience and agonizing over it. It's done. It's over. You're upset. Like, it's okay. Yeah.
That sounds like forgiveness to me.
Yeah. And it's just not needing anything to be different. Like you can have the experience that you have.
Yeah. Well, I feel like forgiveness in one way is not needing anything to be different.
Yeah.
And then living your life from there. I also find that I've been talking with clients about this lately, but that it's kind of like when you are trying to travel somewhere
Yeah.
and you are orienting yourself to which way you want to go. You're creating. You go to make something, or you go to make your day better, whatever that means, feel better, whatever. If you're doing it from a place of dishonesty,
Mm.
where you're like, I'm trying to escape this, you're not honest with where you really are,
Mm.
then you can't find your way out of it very easily because you don't have a starting point. You need to have a starting point to know where to go to get to an end point. And it almost becomes this base where if you're very honest with yourself, and in a recent podcast I did, I described what that means. And to me, it means feeling the in the moment experience of a feeling, sensing it, being with it, but not necessarily feeding or diving into the story that's behind it. That is true honesty. And if you stand in that, you can create, you can build from that.
Yeah. Yeah. When I'm living in story, I'm like figuring out my life, like figuring out like, oh, how could I have done that better? You know, and when I'm busy figuring life out or trying to make some kind of meaning from it, I notice that's like what takes me out of living my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of figuring life out, it's just like you said, just living into the unfolding of life. Like this is just life. This is how life is presenting itself right now. And if I'm present to that instead of trying to think my way out of it, you know, then there's just this feeling of, oh, I could rest in life. I don't need to be constantly trying to optimize my life, which is what I feel a lot of the times is like there's Jean living her life. And then there's like this judger, assessor that has this commentary running all the time of how things could be better. And it's like when we're not listening to that narrator, I can just rest back into like, oh, I get to just live my life. And it's all okay.
Yeah. Mm. And that's a place to find. It's a place to explore and discover in yourself. I'm curious, and maybe the audience is curious, but what happens when you get into that spiritual setback place? Like you're in it, and it doesn't look like you can like let go of the story. It doesn't look like you don't even see the story. Like it just looks like reality. And you're judging yourself. Sounds like that's kind of been a little bit of your experience. I guess, where do you go from there?
I think in the moment, I'm just there.
Yeah.
Right. There's no amount of trying because I've certainly tried of trying to, okay, how do I get out of this? And it's like the more I try to figure it out, the more stuck I get. Because I'm using my thinking to try and like think myself out of a thought problem. Here's the thing, like in the moment, it does really feel like I'm stuck there. At a soul level, I know that it'll pass, even when it doesn't feel like it and it feels really dark. There's this knowing of, oh, I know it won't be like this forever. And I know that because it's never been like that forever. Like I have evidence for that. And I think one of the greatest gifts I got from this inside out understanding is knowing that there's this ground of well-being that's always there. Like I didn't know that for most of my life. I thought I had to chase peace. I had to work on myself to have well-being. And now there's just this knowing that I can't unknow that well-being is always there, even when I can't feel it. Like it's there, and it's like, even when it's nighttime and we can't see the sun is always there. That's my well-being. Like even when it's dark, the sun is still shining somewhere. And I don't have to be afraid because I know the sun's going to come up again at some point. And so for me, even when my experience doesn't match that knowing, there's a certainty in that knowing of, I will feel it again because it's me, it's who I am. And right now there's just like a lot of stuff getting in the way of me feeling it that I can't see it. And there have been moments where I was feeling really down. And then within just a minute, it lifted. I wish it was like that all the time where it could just like lift, right? But for me, it's like, how could it lift so quickly if that ground of well-being wasn't just there? I didn't have to do anything. It's just like, oh, I settled. And lately I've been seeing too, it's where I put my attention. Like my mind likes to get really hyper-focused sometimes on the problems, on the things that I wish were different, on the things where I could be better. And when I'm really zoomed into that, I miss out on the beauty of the presence that's just here. But it's always there.
Yeah. I have a very quick metaphor that I used last night in a coaching session. Could I share it if that's all right? Yeah, okay. So I was telling my client about how we have this spiritual source, this spiritual connection, and that it's always there. And that there are times, like when we have our spiritual setbacks, when it feels like we've lost it.
Yes.
And it's like looking around for a hat. You're like, where in the world did I put the hat? You look everywhere. And then you realize that it's on your head. Or sunglasses or whatever. I feel like we've all had that experience before. Where's my freaking sunglasses? And then they're like, oh, okay. You've looked for an hour for your sunglasses, and they're right there. And that's kind of what I'm hearing from you, is that it's like it's right around the corner, but you are just looking in the wrong places. You want to look closer. It's never far away. You can't travel and find it. You can't go into a far off place in your mind and run away from your present moment and find it, even though we try.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think I look for it. When I can't see it is when I'm looking for it outside of me, or I think I can find it in someone else or in a different situation. And it's like I'm outsourcing my well-being. But well-being is inside. It comes from within. And yeah, and like you said, we can never lose it. And when I saw that, it was like so comforting. It was like, wow, I can never lose it.
Even if you want to, like it's kind of like, I know, it's kind of like something that sticks to your hand. You're just like trying to shake it off. I know, I don't know why you would want to.
Yeah.
Sometimes it seems like it's a good idea. It's like,
Yeah.
I deserve this or something like that, you know? I should never be connected with my well-being again because I'm a terrible person. And then it sticks to you. It comes back. You let go of it eventually.
Yeah.
You have to come up for air. Well, cool. I feel like this has been a really cool exploration about what it's like and where you might look
Mm.
if you mistakenly take two steps back, you stumble backwards, you have a spiritual setback. And also to kind of know that that's just an invitation for you to reground every single time.
Yeah. I think one of my edges lately has been, can I still feel the presence and the aliveness and the peace, even in the midst of just like a contracted feeling or an uncomfortable feeling? Like, is presence still there? Because the default is usually, oh, when things are going good and I'm feeling good, then I feel it. And really opening myself up to the presence is there even in the really hard times. Like they're not, yeah, just because you're feeling really down or in a low state of mind or in a low mood, the well being is still there. You can feel it. Even though oftentimes I don't, because it feels like those things kind of contradict each other. Like I can't have both. But really now seeing the possibility of like, you can absolutely have both.
I actually had an insight recently that those contradictions, like where they meet, that's where the juice is.
Mm.
That's where the rubber, literally, the rubber meets the road. And I think if we look towards that, look towards the overlaps and the contradictions, even if it doesn't make sense, really cool stuff is kind of hidden under that rock. Hmm.
Yeah. And what you said about making sense. I would filter a lot of things through this making sense filter. Like it has to logically make sense
Hmm.
for me to see it, to feel it. And so much of this doesn't fit into the intellectual realm. It makes sense because, yeah, like feeling presence and the beauty of being alive in the midst of deep pain or sorrow or loss, that doesn't make sense, but it's true. Like I've experienced it. I'm sure you've, like so many people have experienced it. Like it's like beyond our like mental comprehension. It's a spiritual mystery, I would say. And until I could see it as that, I was wrestling it in my mind like, no, how could that make sense? And I want to be able to logic this so that I could like replicate it or avoid this. And when I was able, my soul was able to just see like, oh, it's a mystery. It doesn't have to make sense. It's not supposed to make sense. It actually became easier.
Yeah. Doesn't have to make sense. What if we could give permission for that?
Yeah.
Hmm. Cool, Gene. Well, I appreciate your time for today, and this has been a little bit deeper of a dive. If you have come to this and have stayed through the taste test and the deep dive, thank you. And thank you, Jean. Give your thanks to Jean. If you'd love to reach out to her, go ahead and tell them how they can connect with you, and I'll put it in the show notes.
Oh, yeah. You could go to my website at www.jeanyoungcoaching.com.
Nice. Well, Jean, I appreciate having you on the podcast session today. It was awesome.
It was really fun exploring. Thank you, Rich.
Thanks.
This is the Releasing Mental Tension podcast with Rich Life. I'm on a mission to help people release their mental tension because I know that it helps them to be more capable, creative, and compassionate human beings. And I need your help. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you'd like more resources, visit richliferealization.com. Your vibrant life is a single thought away.